Yeah, you will, but it wasn't you. Huh? All right. So is this clear? Yeah. So I have an anecdote here. That's okay. And it's real. It's about myself. So 1 second for you to go through. Sorry?
Is it a sad anecdote?
No? Why do you think it should be sad?
I don't know, because you said it's personal, it's real.
Okay.
I thought you were going to open up.
No. It happened to me. That's what I meant. Okay? So, this happened to me like on a daily basis when I was a child. Fishing is one of my favorite hobbies. I just love it. I love fishing. I don't have that much time nowadays to go fishing. I confess. Like, I go fishing once a year, sometimes once every 2 years, but it's my favorite hobby, okay? So, yeah, I just love it. And when I was a child, I did that like regularly. Look at the recount here. Can you think of an alternative rather than would? What could I have said? Huh? Okay, so he used to get home and we used to spend. Is it different to use used to and would in terms of meaning? Because here, is it something that I did repeatedly in the past? So was it a habit in the past? So for past habits, we usually learn that we use used to. Can we also use would for past habits? We can. So we can use either used to or would for past habits. In terms of meaning, are they different? Which one is more frequent? Which one is more... Would. Would is way more frequent when you are retelling or something that happened to you. Exactly. And why? There is a reason for that. No, not really. That might be easier to, but not really. It's because would brings an idea of nostalgia. It's wonderful when this happens. So would usually brings this idea of I'm still connected to that, and it's something that I miss, something that I really enjoy doing. There is this feeling of nostalgia. So if you think about native speakers, for instance, when they are retelling or recounting something that happened to them when they were like, I mean, in the past, sharing a memory, they might use used to introduce, to set the time frame. Look, I'm going to talk about something that happened to me repeatedly in the past, but they will right after switch to would, especially because this shows nostalgia, this shows emotional attachment, okay?
Because used to gives an idea of something that happened. Okay, but it's okay. We used to go together, fish.
Exactly. Whereas would brings emotion into place. Yeah, into play. Yeah.
That you remember with passion.
Exactly.
The other used to know.
Exactly. Absolutely. And look here. And there was this one day. Is this typical of anecdotes? It is. The use of this, the use of now, the use of while telling the anecdote. Again, this shows that the speaker is close to the situation he is sharing. And that's the very same reason why I use present verbs here. So in anecdotes, is it common to use verbs in the present? And why? Okay. Closer. But also because there is emotional attachment. So the reason why we use would and verbs in the present is because there is emotional attachment to the situation I'm sharing, to the situation I'm talking about. And is this something that learners would normally use? Is this something that learners would normally use? They wouldn't. They would use verbs in the past because that's the way we usually tell stories, anecdotes in Portuguese. They would probably use used to because they're in class. That's where the emphasis is usually placed. So, in terms of the message, in terms of meaning, the meaning conveyed, is it different to use used to or would? In terms of meaning, the message. If I go for used to instead of would, do I change the meaning? I do. Because this one brings the idea of nostalgia. It's still about something that happened repeatedly in the past. It's still about something that was a habit in the past. However, this emotional attachment I have to the situation is only conveyed by this one, or verbs in the present. You see? So if I'm talking to a native speaker and I use would or I use verbs in the present while telling an anecdote, this idea of emotional attachment is second nature to them, and that's what they're going to get from the situation. Does it make sense?
Have you combined with Karina today?
Come again?
Have you combined with Karina?
No,
Anecdotes, jokes.
no. It was we're close friends, but no, it wasn't because of that. But I was glad actually when I saw that both topics were actually connected. I'm like, oh, that's good because we can use them as reference. So far, so good, guys. So, if we consider meaning, if we consider the meaning-making potential of grammar, there's a lot more to it than simply clarifying if the structure, if this form is about the present, the past, or the future, right? There are shades of meaning, there are certain nuances there that students may not be aware of, and that by making them aware of those things, they're going to be able to make communication more effective. They're going to be able to embellish their recounts and stories. They're going to be able to make their communication more interesting and more precise as well, because I'm going to communicate exactly what I would have communicated in my L1, in my mother tongue. Is it clear? So, to link this to Karina's session again, grammar and discourse. I have two paragraphs there. What's the difference between them? What's the difference? Okay, so here there's no passive voice, right?
No.
And here?
Yes.
Exactly.
And was exiled.
Exactly. Okay? But why?
Because it's so okay.
Think about the way the text is constructed.
I'm not sure. The first one focused on that Wellington defeated him.
Uh-huh.
And the second focused that he was defeated.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. The focus changes here. Definitely. But look here. This sentence starts talking about Wellington, right? But the first sentence started talking about? Okay, so look. I started with one topic, and then I changed the topic. But then I went back to the same topic, right? One of the principles of text organization and text structure, the way we write texts, is we keep the topic and we add the comment. So this is, if I want to make the text more coherent and cohesive in terms of organization, keeping the topic and adding the comment is a way of organizing and writing a text. So here we have topic 1, comment 1. same topic, topic 1, comment 2. But then I have topic 2, comment 1. But then I go back to topic 1, comment 3. That's not the way we organize a text. Does it make sense? If I want to keep the topic, topic 1, comment 1, topic 1, comment 2, topic 1, comment 3, I need to use the passive voice. If I don't use the passive voice, I won't be able to keep the comment. To keep the topic, as it happened here. So the reason why we use passive voice in texts is way more than, oh, it's because it's formal, or, oh, it's because in active we use this, in passive we use this. But the use of passive voice in text is actually a matter of coherence. It's the way we organize text. So to keep the topic and add the comment, I need to use passive voice. How often have we told students this? You see, so we usually tell the student, look, we need the passive voice here because it's more formal. Or we need the passive voice here because
Because of the action.
because it's not active. It changes from active to passive.
Receive the action. Not the action.
For the Celta?
Oh, for my life.
So, the most important thing here is what requires the passive voice in a text. What requires the passive voice in a text is a matter of coherence. To keep the topic, we need to use the passive voice. Because to keep the text all in active voice will require a change of topic in the text. Clear? Does it make sense to everybody?
It's interesting. The second one, for me, is more clear, is clearer than the first one.
Exactly. Why?
Because we are talking about a podium.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, no, but where it will be fit here. Okay, it's true.
But then we go back.
Yes, but then we are talking about Napoleon,
Uh-huh.
not where it will be fit.
Absolutely.
Suffered the action
Absolutely.
by Berto, and then he walks exiled, they exiled him. He walks exiled,
Absolutely.
where he died in 1821.
Perfect. This one is clearer.
Uh-huh.
Do you all agree that this one is clearer? Because we keep the same topic. Exactly.
History.
Exactly. Because we keep the same topic. Right? So, in light of all that, is the meaning making potential of grammar clear to everybody? The impact that this has on communication, on the listener, is it clear as well? That just by teaching forms, structures, we are not helping the student that much. The forms need to be clearly connected to the meanings, and also the students should be aware of the impact that this form will have on the listener in this or this situation. So knowing which form I'm going to choose because of the impact, because of the intended message I want to convey. If the learner is aware of this, then he's going to be able to make better choices and to make his communication, his message more precise. Okay? His choices of grammar might depend or may depend on the genre. If it's a joke, if it's an anecdote, he may have to make choices in terms of grammar there as well. And there is the thing about grammar distancing the speaker from the listener or from reality. Is that clear? All right, so in light of all that, how can we help then the learner improve and start using grammar in a more communicative way? Let's take a look. Yeah, so there is what we call mental grammar. Are you familiar with this topic? With this concept? What's mental grammar, Julio? What's mental grammar?
No, not mental, dictogloss.
Ah, okay, dictogloss, okay. Mental grammar is the grammar I have, is my knowledge of grammar, okay? So every person, every speaker of a language, they have a mental, what we call a mental grammar. It's my grammatical knowledge, the knowledge I have and which I can draw on while communicating. And something that's suggested in terms of language acquisition and language learning is that we can incorporate new language into this mental grammar. The new language we build and acquire, the new knowledge, this can be incorporated into my mental grammar through a process called restructuring. So whenever I'm exposed to new language and I learn this new language in context, mentally I start sort of accommodating this new language and integrating this new language with my existing knowledge of grammar or lexis or whatever. So this process of restructuring can be aided by the teacher if we use certain activities with students, all right? One of the activities we can use is what we call dictogloss. Who's familiar with this type of activity? No? So basically it's like this, okay? We have a text and I just tell the text to you. I read the text out loud, something short, and in this text I need to have the grammar features I want to focus on, okay? The instructions are like this, for instance. Guys, I'm gonna tell you a little story, a short anecdote about my time in London, okay, when I lived there. Yeah. And what I'd like you to do is this. Listen to me and just write down key words, okay? Are you going to write down every single word I say?
No.
What are you going to write down? Keywords, important words, okay? So I'm gonna do that. London is the place to be. There's always something interesting going on. Going out there is much better than in my city, and the parks are far more beautiful. You'll never get bored in your free time. Things aren't as cheap as in my city though, but you can still have a lot of fun. Right? You read it once, the students have written down some words. Then you can read a second time. Okay, guys, I'm gonna read it again. Then you read it, and they do that, okay? After you've read your text one or 2 or 3 times at normal speed, then you allow students to compare. And the task is, what you have to do is, from the words you have there, I'd like you to reconstruct the whole text, everything I told you. You have to rewrite everything. Are students going to be able to use the exact words I used? But is the focus on the forms? Where's the focus? On the meaning. So they're going to come up with the words they have, but what's gonna help them reconstruct the text is the idea that I conveyed in my message, is the meaning that was conveyed by the short anecdote. 3-4 lines, something quick. Then students in pairs or trios, they will try to reconstruct the text. After some minutes, all right, now in groups of 5, try to check if you can improve the text, check if you can make it better. And they go over the whole thing again, try to improve, change things here and there and stuff. Exactly. And then, after that, you show the real story. Okay? Of course, when you show, you don't need to have this highlighted. Okay? In bold. No, first, just normal, without the words in bold and stuff like that. Okay, guys, compare your texts with the text I have there. And then when they start comparing, what do they start doing? Adding things, changing things, editing things. And then as a group, you can ask, okay, everyone, so let's see. Did you get everything correct? No, different. What did you get differently? And then you can start comparing the forms you have here with the ones they had suggested. Because chances are that the words they had chosen could not have been the same. However, thank you, bye-bye. Thank you. The words may not have been the same. However, the meaning could have been the same. So they start sharing, so we have different ways of conveying the same meaning, whatever. Okay, great. Then you focus on the grammar. And in this case, what was my main objective? Comparatives. To focus on grammar, then you can do as a whole group, or you can have what we call guided discovery. You can have you can have some questions for students to look at the text and answer in pairs, trios, together. Then you check as a group. I could have more questions here. You check as a group, you have examples. Look, you started helping them restructure their mental grammar and build more knowledge by having a listening activity. They wrote down things, they compared, then you got to the real text, you highlighted and helped them notice the chunks, and then you clarified the language. Do you think that when they have to do this, to talk about a place they've been and things like that, are they going to be better prepared for that? Are they going to be better able to use comparatives? For sure. Does make sense? That's one possibility. And this type of activity, this is what we call guided what? Guided discovery, okay? Okay. Guided. Okay. Guided discovery. You have some questions for students to answer based on the text there and reach conclusions about the language, okay? And another way of doing this, of helping with the restructuring of mental grammar, is what we call noticing the gap. So for example, you can start the text by setting the context. So let's say we're going to talk about trips, okay? The best trip ever. Then you give students a meaning-focused task, a communicative task in which they have to focus on meaning. So for example, telling an anecdote about the best trip they've been on. Then students can listen to the same task being performed by a native speaker. Then students compare their production here in step 2 with the model in step 3. Then students will notice features of language in the model, and then they go like, I said like this, but he said like that. The meaning is the same, but this is a better way of saying things maybe. Or, oh, this is a different way of saying things, and I didn't know that. Then students can improve their production. They sort of prepare, take notes and stuff like that, and then they repeat the task. Is that clear? So can you see that you go from something that was focused on meaning towards something that's also focused on meaning, and halfway through the process, you help students notice features of the language that helped them improve their performance and also restructure the mental grammar. Okay? Clear? So, if we go back, and again, I don't know why this is like this, but if we go back to the initial questions, okay? So in light of this presentation, is it clear that there needs to be a clear reason, a clear communicative reason why we teach grammar to students? Just learning rules for the sake of learning rules won't help them. Then, do we have some ideas of how to help students incorporate this new language and put it into use? For example, 2 practical ideas? Could be using jokes, anecdotes, what else? I've just showed. Sorry? Exactly. So, some sort of... Exactly. Guided discovery, noticing the gap, dictogloss, yeah? And then students also need to be made aware of the contexts in which grammar can be used or not, and how to use it appropriately, how to choose the appropriate forms for this particular context. Okay? So the most important question is, to grammar or not? Exactly, that's the most important question, okay? To grammar or not to grammar, that's the question.
Something about that. Go.
Which one?
Go. More. No, less.
Conscious based activities.
Mind, say something about that example.
Which one? Which example? This one?
No, before. Mind you, don't do that.
Mind you.
One more example.
When do we usually use mind you? When is mind you used? Like in Portuguese, we say, olha, eu vou falar uma coisa. Something like that. So, mind you. And then, like that. So, we're going to point out something. In Portuguese would be something like, olha, eu vou falar uma coisa importante. Olha, presta atenção. Olha, isso aqui é importante. In English we can say, mind you. And then you add the information. Okay? Guys, was it helpful? Yeah. So here's the references I used for the whole presentation. Okay? Everything I said you can find in these books. And thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. If you have, thank you, you guys. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can drop me a line, okay? I don't remember if at the beginning of the presentation, if I said that, if I introduced myself, did I?
No.
I did?
No.
Not even.
So are you like the Easter egg part of the...
Yeah, exactly. So I work at Cultura Inglesa in the academic department. But I've been working at Cultura Inglesa for 13 years now. Yeah, see, I look really young, but I'm not. So. I have a secret. Come again?
The secret is grammar.
Grammar. That's it. But yes, I've been a coach, a mentor, a teacher, but now I work in the academic department. At the headquarters in the academic department. Yeah, but.
Which age you started teaching?
I was 17, 18, yeah. Yeah. Oh, come on. Guys, it was a pleasure for me. I hope that it's been useful and I'll see you around, okay? Thank you. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you.